everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Kim Smith. I am the Global Vice President in Hybrid Cloud Services at IBM, and we're here to talk about IBM Services solutions around OpenShift everywhere with Microsoft Azure and Red Hat. I'd love to give you a chance to meet my co-host for this session today. Nick, let me go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thank you. So Nicholas Gerasimanos with Red Hat, been with Red Hat for about 5 years, and I have a focus on Channel Alliance cloud strategy. So I work heavily with our cloud service providers like Microsoft on a lot of our emerging technologies. So what we wanted to talk a little bit about today was extending investments and unleashing the power of the cloud with Microsoft Azure and Red Hat OpenShift, and really understanding how to deliver the benefits of cloud native workloads, that elasticity on Microsoft Azure, leveraging the power of OpenShift. So I talk to a lot of different companies, and I hear a lot of different feedback from them specifically about the challenges that they're dealing with within their organizations, and really what the solutions and desired outcomes are that they're looking for. And some of the major things that we're hearing is that organizations right now are a little bit slow to adopt containers and microservices for their production workloads. And they have a few different inhibitors, right? Some of those inhibitors are the need to manage and maintain the platform. Maybe they don't necessarily have the expertise in-house for some of these newer technologies. Or another challenge lies in creating and maintaining the DevSecOps platform needed for container adoption. So really at the end of the day, what they're looking for is they want to stay ahead of the market by rolling out exceptional new solutions offerings and eliminating that existing estate of hardware and VMs, which has kind of slowed their modernization, and move towards timeline-driven development to solve problems faster, right? And so the way to get there is they're looking at solutions that are going to help modernize their legacy and next-generation cloud-native applications. And so when you're looking at some of those solutions, a migration to containerization of on-premise legacy applications or cloud-native applications, you're looking at maybe moving to Microsoft Azure, re-engineering or lift and shifting some of those applications, or making them cloud native. So taking a monolithic application and breaking it apart into a distributed application and deploying that on OpenShift on Microsoft Azure, and having that elasticity of the public cloud to be able to grow and shrink on demand, but still have the ability to leverage your private or hybrid cloud for applications that maybe necessarily you don't want to run in a cloud service provider. So maybe, for example, you do your development environments on-premise, and then you deploy your production-based applications specifically to Microsoft Azure running on OpenShift. So to kind of summarize, the desired outcomes really are containerization or distributed applications to provide your DevOps teams an easier on-ramp to develop applications and deploy those applications, while also simplifying your IT operations teams, which their main focus is obviously keeping solutions alive, keeping them performing well, and really focusing on the security of the platform and the scalability of that platform across many different business units or solutions themselves. So utilizing the power of OpenShift and Azure, you can optimize your costs, but still enable your development and your IT operations teams to take advantage of all the things that containers actually provide. So, some of the other things that we should talk about is, why containers? Why containers? Why now? What's the big thing that everybody is looking at as to why they're looking at adopting containers? And so I thought it was really interesting. There's an IDC study that was done, and 35% of production applications were actually responded to by the questionnaire that they'll be cloud native by 2022 and utilizing some type of microservices, containers, dynamic orchestration, maybe serverless, things along those lines. And that's very impressive, right? If you think of the fact that 1 in every 3 applications that's going to be deployed to production is going to be deployed in this type of methodology or this manner, it really shows that organizations are looking ahead at how they change their development strategy and how they actually are building out, refactoring applications and deploying them. Another thing that I thought was really interesting is that 75 to 90% of DevOps teams indicate that they're using some type of containerization for about 23% of their production workloads in 2021. And I think it's important to understand why specifically these DevOps teams are looking at that. Yes, they understand, that the IT operations groups are looking at lower overall costs when it comes to infrastructure, right? We're coming out of a pandemic. Everybody is trying to do more with less, but we also want to increase developer productivity. I also thought it was really interesting. There was a study that was done, and we noted that there was about a 66% increase in developer productivity when they were utilizing OpenShift as compared to their standard methodologies of building applications and deploying applications. So really, at the end of the day, right, organizations that we surveyed, they're looking to, increase developer productivity by utilizing containers to simplify the application development and methodology. So having a consistent environment where they're actually building and developing these applications, and then where they're running them and maintaining them. So I'll turn it over to you, Kim, for the next portions.
Thank you so much, Nick. And I think what's really critical, as Nick outlined, is the importance of two aspects of what we're talking about when we talk about OpenShift, Microsoft Azure, Red Hat, and where IBM Services comes into play. This three-way partnership and alliance that we've created is massively valuable for a few reasons. Number one, when you think about what Nick shared relative to container modernization, really being able to lead at scale modernization through containers is key across all applications and data. By combining Microsoft Azure with all of the pre-built assets and services that we've created at IBM, and through our partnership with Red Hat, we are one of the premier providers of Red Hat services. And I think there's a tremendous opportunity in the first area of ensuring that you can accelerate through containerization by leveraging some of the assets and automated processes that we've put together. The second piece is that, as Nick talked about, the really critical aspect of implementation successfully is empowering your DevSecOps organizations to be set up for success and to enable them to accelerate against the different aspects of adoption that they're trying to drive. DevSecOps are completely complex enterprise capabilities that when you're moving and migrating and modernizing thousands of applications, you have to have operational efficacy and excellence around those three key swim lanes. And by being able to enable those functions through automation, through tools, it frees up those resources. It frees up that talent to provide the value that they're there to provide, which is stepping back and figuring out how the enterprise is going to work most effectively, which applications need to be moved at the right time, and what the combination of effects will be by going through a specific set of critical path methods for designing that methodology around migration and modernization. And so anything we can do to set those individuals up for success, to set those organizations up for success through acceleration is really critical. And the third area is thinking about Microsoft's approach to hybrid cloud. Microsoft is one of the leading platforms when it comes to taking a look at the multitude of cloud capabilities that are available in the market and their understanding of the fact that every organization has multiple cloud components that they're trying to address from a technology platform perspective and from a business accessibility perspective. We have the industry expertise as we've been working very closely with Microsoft and Red Hat over the course of the last few decades in really thinking about what are hybrid cloud, multi-cloud assets that are critical that allow you to maximize the value of Microsoft Azure and maximize the value of the capabilities behind Red Hat. So modernizing the containerization approach, empowering DevSecOps through automation and tools so that you can free those resources up to do what they're there to do for critical business support, and then looking at the holistic strategy around hybrid cloud. Those are the three components that really set us up for success collectively as we work across IBM, Red Hat, and Microsoft to put together the right type of solutions to support companies moving in this direction. When you think about everything that an organization will need for driving next generation application estates, one of the biggest challenges that Forrester has identified is the fact that you have to be able to provide cross-functional alignment within an organization. We all know how difficult it is when you introduce new technology into a company that may have tens of thousands of employees that could be impacted. And so really taking a look at cross-functional alignment and co-creation with the end users and the audiences that are impacted by your technology choices are key. Forrester has noted that IBM in particular has provided the technical expertise to reduce delivery timelines by over 67%, going from 9 to 3 months in implementation. That's huge because when you can make your people more productive and more effective through technology empowerment, they're able to do their jobs in a way that elevates the capabilities and the ROI that they bring to the table. The second area that has been identified as kind of next generation future proofing and transformation for companies is freeing up resources and capacity to drive product effectiveness. And so that you can test projects at the same time so that you're driving more lean capabilities through implementation. And so what Forrester has identified with IBM is we've actually been able to test 3 times more projects at double the success rate and get 6 times more innovation completed and released to market. We become masters at testing and validating and launching the multitude of migrations and modernizations that have to happen in a world of OpenShift capabilities. And the third area that has been identified as one of the most critical for really looking for next generation application success is aligning that co-creation and that increase of project implementation by looking for ways to innovate and being able to implement that innovation and test and validate through MVP processes much more quickly. So the sooner you're able to say, here's an opportunity for us to improve a process or to introduce new technology or to bring in new capabilities, and you can turn that around quickly to validate or negate, to identify areas of failure and solve for them, the more effective you are at going through the migration and modernization process. If the users are not brought in, if you're not driving business efficacy, then oftentimes these solutions will fail. And so it is really important to look for optimization of enterprise application migrations to the cloud fast with measurable impact to the business. And some of the things that we do to drive those 3 levers in just the right combination for success is enabling hybrid cloud transformation by looking at 4 key areas: advise, move, build, manage services. And through those services, we provide DevSecOps support, which I think is really critical to any organization's success. So having that deep capability and experience in delivering development, operations, and security capabilities across all enterprise applications is key. And it's important that organizations are working together through the technology capabilities, the business capabilities, to really drive forward that DevSecOps strategy. Another area of expertise is helping businesses move applications and infrastructures to Azure through discovery, planning, design, and deployment. And I'll talk a little bit about our cloud garage scenarios, which is a really effective way to infuse automation in the ideation and design process, and then come to conclusions for migration and modernization much more quickly through a factory model. Analytics and insights are key. It is really important along the way to identify ways that the new implementations are working when you move workloads to cloud versus those that you want to maintain on-premise or in a hybrid cloud environment. And so being able to take a look at all of the workflows in a platform as a service scenario and create that command center approach so that you can see where you're improving efficiencies for usability or you're decreasing your utility access. You need to be able to, in the moment, dial up and dial down changes in the infrastructure so that you can improve usability every step of the way. We refer to some of the work that we do around Microsoft Azure, Red Hat OpenShift as an ARO. And the implementation, migration, and innovation that comes with this type of solution set is very unique because you're introducing different levels of automation in places that were typically managed in a manual way. And so you're changing the way that your development teams operate. You're changing the way that the users expect to see the information. And it's really important that there's integration and thinking about what that change looks like. And you're thinking about organizational change management, because things that people had to do manually in the past will go away. Things that they didn't have access via any device at any time will now be easily accessible. And so they're going to want more information. They're going to want to make more expedited decisions, and that changes the way that they operate. And so as you think about those operational changes, you need to think about how you instill capabilities that allow them to be more effective at doing their jobs. Security is really critical in this process, and especially in this time where we are all almost 100% digital at any given time. And so providing the right level of security experience and embedding those security capabilities across every stage of the Azure journey is key. Microsoft has done an amazing job at ensuring that we're able to have the right checks and balances for security and accessibility and login capabilities that align to the Microsoft platform. And what we've done as a services organization working with Red Hat is to automate that functionality, the usability, the administration, so that security is tight, it's consistent, consistent, and it can be managed effectively in a command and control way. In industry expertise, one of the most critical aspects of containerization is relevance for the industry use case scenario. And what's really key is that we're able to accelerate enterprise modernization at in a specific way that usability becomes relevant for, let's say, automotive versus manufacturing versus public sector, and in retail or consumer goods scenarios. Those are all very different in how they're approached and how you deploy this type of innovative technology. And we have thousands of use case scenarios that we're able to employ to drive the right level of automation through the migration and modernization approach. If you think about what cloud migration entails, I've talked a little bit about this, but the way we approach this at IBM is we apply what we call design thinking, really leading through experiential approaches for everything we do from a technology standpoint. And so we take a look at collaborating with the business units that are going to be the communities that are getting the most value out of the experiences that you're trying to drive through the applications that you've invested in, and then creating minimal viable product definitions so that everyone's clear on what we're testing and how we're testing together, and then rank ordering the backlog. This is something that is iterative and automated, but it really uses our digital and design thinking methodology and approach so that it's constantly an opportunity to apply lean methodology throughout our use case scenarios. We've developed the IBM Garage method for cloud that is an evolutionary architecture with proven foundations for co-creation with organizations that we're working with at our clients. We've created accelerators for rapid deployment and then infused scalability and built to manage application development with site reliability engineering through our Garage methods. And we found that this is one of the most effective ways, especially if you're dealing with thousands of applications that have to be migrated, to determine which combination of what applications need to be moved and when, and what's going to have the best common denominator impact on the business so that they see this as a net new value add and not something that's going to disrupt what they're trying to achieve. And when we think about, I talked a little bit about backlog, but when you think about the whole cycle of development, building, packaging, testing, getting the sign-off and deployment, monitoring, analytics, and execution, these processes are ongoing and constant. So we go through ideation and playback development sprints over and over again, following that particular framework, applying our engineering practices on DevSecOps principles, making sure that we have tool chains, and we actually have digital scenario builders that help create different capabilities along different technology trajectories, so that whether you're working with microservices or IoT, cognitive, social media, or blockchain solutions, throughout any one of those application scenarios, we can identify what can be automated, what should not be automated, and how this changes not only the user experience, but supply chain usage scenarios. And then we also take a look at the Azure services as it relates to the open technology stack to curate what needs to be curated through the development lifecycle. This technology is changing rapidly, and it's really important that wherever we can build upon our previous learnings to infuse net new capability, we're able to do that very, very quickly. And so when we look at hybrid cloud services, we want to really rapidly leverage our legacy integration in conjunction with net new technology and implementation so that we get to ready to scale applications very quickly in a cost-effective way. And through each of these steps, what we're doing is constant ROI. What's the TCO, what's the total cost of ownership that this drives, and what's the uptick in potential revenue impact, use case scenario, usage impact. And for our clients, what are their customers getting out of this so that it impacts their bottom line? I won't spend a lot of time on the IBM Cloud Garage method, but what I will spend time on is sharing with you a little bit more about our capabilities in this capacity. You know, we spend a significant amount of time and thousands of hours every week working with clients to really advise, move, build, and manage their solutions as it relates to some of the scenarios that we've talked about. At any given time, we've got thousands of resources available to ensure that we can drive operational and organizational efficacy, that we're providing advisory services and architectural assessments to identify the combination of scenarios that a company may want to take on at any given time. When you take a look at where the rubber hits the road and where the meat comes into play, we call that our move and build experiences. It's taking a look at what it is you want to move, what needs to be customized or configured or built on top of what you're moving to really create better experiences for the businesses that are trying to use all these new capabilities that you're making available to them. And what we really learned from this experience is that if we can do a better job of creating application portfolios around use case scenarios and then the right level of automation for those portfolios, the move build cycle moves much more quickly. And it decreases dependency on managed services to ensure that people have the ability to use the applications that they need as soon as they're available, and that there's ubiquitous access anytime to the information anywhere for the right resources so that they can engage in activating their use case scenarios immediately once you make those applications available via your cloud solutions. And we've created a full cloud migration factory that focuses on end-to-end lifecycle baselining. We also put together all of the garage methods through our capabilities around Agile and DevSecOps as foundation, leaning into our capabilities specifically for application operations. We have a tremendous amount of experience working on cloud and non-cloud systems, and they come together quite frequently. So thinking about where you're looking at hybrid cloud scenarios and how you have to work with on-premise and cloud-based environments consistently, really stepping back and making sure that we're applying some of the methods that I've talked about to engage. We create unified teams working with Red Hat and Microsoft and our clients to ensure that everyone is consistently clear on what the objectives are, creating a prescriptive talent model. This is a lot of new technology, and a lot of these resources in the market today don't have the full spectrum of capabilities to implement this as effectively as they can because the technology is changing constantly. We work together to identify the prescriptive resources and role requirements, and then we help upskill, cross-skill, train, mentor, and guide throughout the life cycle of implementation and cloud migrations, because that's key to the success of these implementations. And so even when we're dealing with situations where we have scenarios of cloud, multi-cloud experiences. That includes Microsoft, Google, AWS, and even IBM Cloud. We're able to step back and really help you reskill and tool the right resources and teams so that they're set up for success in implementing these hybrid cloud scenarios. Automation is at the core of every aspect of our factory and our life cycle. Whatever can be automated, we will automate in the most effective manner possible. And the reason that the ideation process is so critical is many of the technical resources that exist within clients today really need to be able to apply their skills, their knowledge, and their experiences to some of the process improvements. The cloud-based resources that we all bring to the table are not going to be the only ones that come up with solutions. Your business communities are going to come up with solutions as well, and they need to have input into what it's going to take to drive automation. If a business user tells you that this particular process is painful for them and they need it to be automated, and you don't have that automation in your portfolio, they are included in the design method so that they can provide feedback and input so that we can immediately work together to automate the scenario that they've identified. That is key. When the business community is involved in this process and they're involved from the beginning, we can get through automation much more quickly and embed cognitive elements to prove the value of that automation. And then finally, the core foundation of what we call the DevSecOps security prefabrication for consumption provides that strong foundation of cloud services to ensure that we are set up for success everywhere from DevSecOps to solution operations to security and compliance to middleware management, so that when automation is employed, it's really clear where you go and how you get the right help you need to execute against that automation. And the way we start with this effort is really focused on immersive experiences. And so we typically take a look at working with Microsoft and Red Hat to identify areas where, whether it's replatforming, re-architecture, or DevSecOps enablement, we can come together to immediately provide value with our clients to identify ways to improve the different scenarios that they want to drive forward. We've had situations where there may be, let's say, 4,000 applications that need to be moved. And instead of going through just a traditional process of inventory of those applications and those workloads, we actually go through garage experiences with the clients on the business side of the table to identify how they're using those applications and show opportunities for advanced capabilities in iterative experiences very quickly. And so we do that rapid immersive experience assessment so that we can get through the evaluation of tens of thousands of applications very, very quickly and get the business buy-in up front for the right combination coordination and movement of those applications at the right time. And then through that process, we also work very closely with the development, the operations, and the security parts of the IT organization to determine what is the right level of mix and move that has to happen as we design and build an OpenShift environment. So we do a light application assessment up front. It's just not a 6-month effort to figure out which applications are moving. You want to move very, very quickly. And so you do that light application assessment. We do working proof of concepts and MVP scenarios, and we use AI to determine what the right combination of application movement makes sense for the use case scenarios in that environment. And then we take a look at the cloud value model. What is it going to cost to move these applications and to migrate and to modernize? And then what's the right combination based on the ROI that comes from that cost and comes from that automation? With the desired outcomes to be first and foremost, demonstrate value of OpenShift on Azure. That is key. If you can't demonstrate the value out of the gate, then it's going to be problematic for you as a business to determine who's going to invest in this movement going forward. The second thing is demonstrating the benefits of OpenShift as it relates to Red Hat in the containerization of hybrid cloud experiences, providing value of the assets and the automation, and then demonstrating application portability with burst capacity, in addition to seamless networking and storage on Azure. Now, that combination really is where you have the value proposition that comes out of the experience. And then finally, making sure that you're completing the process with managed services for OpenShift on Azure. Because while we want to limit the amount of dependency on long-term managed services that are outside of automation, they're still required. And having a clear line of sight in what it's going to take to manage delivery of everything from Kubernetes to operating system management to ongoing installation and compute and network and storage capabilities is key to ensure that you can manage your ongoing cost long term. And so I hope that gives you a good perspective on what it is that needs to be done and how you need to think about OpenShift as it relates to Microsoft Azure and Red Hat. I want to turn it back over to Nick so he can share some specific examples of where we've had success in these implementations recently.
Yeah, thank you. So I wanted to talk about, a few different successes that we've had and what I've been seeing with the customers that I've been engaging with on a pretty consistent basis. So some of the major wins that we've had in adopting, containerization specifically on Microsoft Azure, we had a very large financial institution that was looking to build a hybrid integration platform to reduce onboarding turnaround time. And their big thing was focusing on moving from 6 weeks of onboarding to 2 hours. And that's, if you think about it, that's significant when it comes to the amount of time that you're talking about decreasing for onboarding employees, client experiences, and really having it be only a semi-manual process, right? Again, it goes back to what Kim was saying with automate whatever you can, because automation is going to be the key to acceleration and consistency, and it really is going to actually empower both your operations team and your developers to be able to become much better at deploying applications or maintaining the integrity of those applications or even developing new solutions. And so IBM helped this bank enhance their capability of advanced analytics using artificial intelligence, machine learning, and other methodologies. Another one was a financial services company that was looking to integrate a customer experience and core banking solution on the cloud. So this was a specialty finance firm that wanted to expand and extend their limited license to a full bank license to provide online banking services. They needed to look at having higher margin products, which they currently were handling through partners. And these products would include mortgage financing, as well as other various banking products. And then the last one on here that we have is an energy company that moves specifically from complex legacy applications to the cloud, right? So this is an integrated energy company specializing in synthetic crude production from oil sands that was looking to accelerate and streamline application delivery, move to more agile, and DevOps methodology, so CI/CD pipelines. But they also had a lot of edge computing and IoT as well, right? So they were looking to enable and simplify these application integration endpoints, enhance their cloud maturity by actually doing some of these artificial intelligence, machine learning at the edge, and then have a zero end user downtime SLA that they actually needed to meet. Some other customers that I've talked to, they're looking at, specifically at Azure Red Hat OpenShift and talking to IBM and Red Hat because they're looking at a managed service offering, right? They need something that has strong security defaults and the opportunity to go on-prem with a solution, right? OpenShift on-prem or using something like Azure Red Hat OpenShift in the cloud. And they've looked at, other like Kubernetes options, like rolling their own Kubernetes option and managing it. And they rejected it because they specifically looked at the fact that they didn't have the resources or the know-how to actually manage this in a production environment. And the executives of the company they were concerned about that, as they should be. Another one was a very large energy company that was looking at, again, building their own Kubernetes platform and managing it themselves. And they had actually rolled out a proof of concept, and they suffered a security breach. And they realized pretty quickly that they needed something that was secured, hardened, enterprise grade, that they could deploy, and that they wouldn't have to worry as much about the security constructs of maybe a developer getting a rogue container that they just downloaded off of some website and rolled out into their infrastructure. So they wanted multi-tenancy. They wanted a centralized management platform. They needed the metrics, but they also, most importantly, needed to address these security concerns. So what we're seeing is a combination of attractive pricing with a managed service offering, which leads them a lot of times to something like Azure Red Hat OpenShift, because it provides them better management, elasticity to grow, to deploy new clusters if they need to, faster time to production, greater speed of returning value, because getting that ROI faster generates more margin, allows them to release new solutions in a quicker timeline. And really, at the end of the day, OpenShift is just a more complete solution than rolling your own Kubernetes platform. If you think about it, Kubernetes itself is just an orchestration engine, right? It's just the piece that actually orchestrates the deployment of containers. Whereas OpenShift is actually all of these features pulled together, including an operating system, all the way through the orchestration layer, to the security layer, to your runtime. And we validate all of those capabilities to make sure that as we release new versions, as we release new features, that they are both forward and backwards compatible. So that includes things like metrics, dashboard, centralized management, and the security aspects of things. So Kim, I'll turn it back over to you to talk a little bit about the IBM Microsoft Partnership.
Thanks, Nick. And I'm really appreciative of those scenarios because I think it really solidifies the fact that this is a business problem or series of business problems that we're all working together to solve. The reality is that we are in very different times than we ever have been before. And some of the existential threats that many organizations are going through right now are going to have to be addressed through the enablement of some of this new technology. And it's really hard to change large-scale enterprises with new technology if it isn't orchestrated in a way that can be done at scale. And so having partners that can scale with an enterprise is critical to the success of many of these types of implementations around OpenShift. We have lifetime legacy with Microsoft. IBM and Microsoft have been working together for over 30 years. We have a complete suite of capabilities, and we've been dedicated to the partnership from day one and ensuring that as Microsoft moves forward with Microsoft's technologies, that we as IBM are partnering to scale and align where our technologies come together well and where we can provide the right level of technical and business consultative and delivery and engineering support to really set Microsoft up for success in this partnership and to ensure that IBM shows up as the best partner possible. We have delivery strength through all of our gold certifications and through our recognition of multiple awards, not only with Microsoft, but in the industry. We have leadership and consistent engagement across all Microsoft platforms, but our practitioner excellence is really key. We have over 40,000 cloud consultants and experts worldwide, and almost 5,000 are specifically dedicated to the Microsoft technologies around our cloud capabilities. We also take a look at the importance of having architecture capabilities, design capabilities, and solutions that are relevant within given industries. And we have those resources around the globe who are supporting both our clients and our partnership with Microsoft and the ecosystem of partners we both have. And we have over 1 million partners collectively, and those include ISV partners, small-scale startups, developer communities. We support the GitHub environment and ensuring that next-generation developers are set up for success. And that includes STEM programs that go beyond practitioners that are seen as typical practitioners that come through the college realm. We have veterans, we have a commitment to diversity and inclusion. We even have individuals that come through multiple aspects of engineering programs that allow for support of diversity and neurodynamic capabilities. So depending on how you're wired, we have the right set of not only training and development, but support and coaching and mentoring, whether it's at a client or within our own four walls or through our Microsoft and our Red Hat relationship. We really value the importance of practitioner excellence because it's people that matter and really drive the level of results that we're trying to achieve enabled by this technology. And that's critical for this partnership to succeed. Our global presence is, bar none, one of the best in all industries. We are in 170 countries with 55 languages, and we have 22 global delivery centers, and that doesn't include the thousands of garages we have around the globe, many of which are primarily housed at our clients' sites. These garages are really owned and led by our clients, and we work collectively with them to bring in IP assets and resources to accelerate much of the change that happens in areas like OpenShift. This partnership is really successful primarily because of the relationships we build with our clients and with one another. Our cultures are aligned to support the improvement of humanity through technology and truly driving the best of our products and services together through innovative solutions so that we can be cohesive as one. So we think this is a tremendous opportunity. If you haven't spent your time in understanding Microsoft Azure, Red Hat, IBM, and OpenShift, I really implore that you take a look at the resources that we're making available to you, that you reach out to us, because I think there's a tremendous opportunity. We collectively, as collaborative leaders in this space, want to work with you, and we're making the commitment and investment to co-create and to partner to demonstrate how our collective cloud expertise in Microsoft Azure platforms and assets, together with Red Hat and OpenShift, can simplify and accelerate your application modernization to speed to cloud for competitive advantage. So we're looking forward to the opportunity to partner with you and to engage over time to continue to evolve and transform your business models. So I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you, Nick, for joining me. It was great speaking to you again. And we look forward to working with you to support your hybrid cloud and OpenShift solutions.